First Vocal Plane Podcast with Sean and Rooster.
Oh, it's
just a little bit windy that day, eh?
I was gonna say, Gert. Yep, that's southern Alberta, Saskatchewan wind right there.
Exactly. Yenzi, first guy on every time.
Right there.
What's that, Mikey?
You didn't say anything.
All right. Yeah, you did. You just weren't listening. All right, everybody. Welcome to First Vocal Plane Podcast, episode 30. We're grateful that you've chosen to join us. Now shut the hell up and let us get on with the show.
Pre-show, shut the fuck up. We're going live.
I already had this discussion.
That's right.
First Vocal Plane Podcast is once again proudly brought to you by EM Precision Rifles in Leduc, Alberta, Canada's premier precision builder of lightweight hunting rifles, starter packages, and extreme long-range hammers. EM Precision has the right stuff to get you running out ahead of the herd. Find them on Facebook, Instagram, and their website at emprifles.ca.
Yeah. Chris, bolt action.
Tonight's Top Shot is brought to you by Bolt Action Coffee, who bring you exclusive award-winning specialty coffees to the precision shooting community. Boasting specialty coffee cupping scores of 85.5 or higher, Bolt Action Coffee roasts will get your morning started right and keep you on target all day long.
Ooh.
Choose between Scopes Up, Overwatch, or Suppressed. Find them on Facebook, Instagram, and their website at boltactioncoffee.com. I was fucking dialed in on that one.
But you missed the code.
You didn't. I read what you.
I know. I shouldn't have to.
Use discount code First Vocal Plane when you buy your fucking coffee on boltactioncoffee.com. First Vocal Plane, all caps.
All caps.
No spaces.
Yep.
First Vocal Plane.
10%
Less anger.
off.
More coffee, less anger.
I thought they went hand in hand.
Yeah.
Well, without Bolt Action Coffee, you're really angry. With Bolt Action Coffee, you're somewhat angry. So there you go. Hey, we're also brought to you by Call Sign 66, a veterans-based organization founded to facilitate multi-generational passage of information, ballistic applications, R&D, and shooter development, whose collective function is morally motivated and experience-based.
Welcome to the Brotherhood.
Less breathy.
Oh, sorry. Anyway.
You can see your tonsils there, man.
Yeah, a little less teeth, bud.
No, more cowbell. More
Sean,
cowbell.
don't listen to them. I thought it was great.
Thanks,
Sean
Chris.
had $1.
Appreciate it, buddy.
It's like Darth Vader was resurrected.
We have two very special guests and put emphasis on special. First off, I want to preface this by saying happy fucking birthday, Shane. Welcome to the First Vocal Plane Podcast.
Welcome to 40.
Welcome to 40.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a movie about that. It didn't go so well.
The 40-year-old virgin?
Yeah.
Thanks for saying it out loud, Kurt.
We were all thinking it. Yes.
Was that a question?
I'm
I
wrong.
think it was a
Do it, Sean.
proposal.
Yeah, there it is.
You gotta get the inflection of the voice. But no, we have Shane Monsour from EM Precision Rifles and Mikey. I'm going to drop your last name, Mikey Friesen, sponsor shooter, Team EM Precision Rifles. Yeah, welcome, guys.
Shane's
Thank you
lapdog.
for having us. Whoa,
Yeah.
whoa. I thought it was reversed.
Loyal lapdog. I mean, is that better?
Life
No.
partner. We prefer life partner.
Oh, okay. All right.
Exactly. Call it what it is.
Fight over it constantly. It carries somewhere in second or third.
Yeah.
I didn't know Warzone takes precedence over marriage.
Doesn't it?
Come
I have
on.
an arrangement.
Shane's your sugar daddy.
Yeah, exactly. No, my wife has set ground rules for Warzone, and it's 8 to 10 on weekdays, and then we negotiate the weekends. So,
Oh boy.
Yeah, and Mike's good at negotiating.
no
allowance.
no allowance. That's funny.
Well, why don't you guys tell us a little about yourselves? Let's start with Mikey.
Oh, okay. I'll just start in the precision world, and everybody can just imagine what I do for my career, because I'm sure someone will drop it eventually. But no, I started shooting rifles, precision E, long range, tactically type stuff back in 2008. Got bit by the bug, started shooting like the BCRA matches out at Volk's range there. So started shooting 308, as far as I could get it. And I just kind of kept progressing. Met Kurt at Steve and Shane's poker rally.
No, we met before that when you're shooting that 6 competition match and you're blowing primers like crazy. Where was that? That was south of Calgary.
That was a little shoot on. Somebody put on a prep with tactical teacher or whatever. So we did meet there. Yeah. It was 2011,
11,
something like that. And it pissed rain and I was blowing primers. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah, me and Rich hid under the same tent together.
Yeah, it was a snuggle fest. It was okay.
That's right. Nobody knows what went on in that tent. Shut up.
Yeah, what happens in the tent stays in the tent.
Stay warm.
We did. Yes.
Yeah. So it just kept going, and I can't get the long range. I like shooting pistol. I like shooting shotgun. I like shooting ARs, carbines, whatever the hell you want to call them. But rifles, it's where I like to hang my hat the most. It's where my wife allows me to spend the most money, and yeah, that's about it. So I started shooting some of the Got Your Six matches, which started leading more and more into the PRS world, and then jumped into that as blindfolded as I could and tried not to drown and just kept doing it. And then, of course,
hooked up with good people.
Exactly. And who doesn't like to shoot far? So, Shane and the guys are just like, you like shooting far? I'm like, as far as I can get it. And here we are now. I'm just dipping my toe in the ELR world. So that's me.
That's pretty thorough.
And I'm drinking Coke Zero.
Attaboy.
Going way out there. Hey, they Got Your Six matches. That's not happening anymore, is it? Or are they going to?
Last year, from what I know, was the last year. I think they did it 4 years running. I was able to shoot 3 of them. And then last year, not really sure kind of what happened, but it started, I don't want to say taking a nosedive or anything. It just started petering out a little bit. And
well, there's a lot of work that goes into those things, right? As
100%.
You guys well know. Yeah.
Charity shoot as well. Like, I think there's a lot of thankless effort that goes into it. And, so it's kind of one of those things where it was a blessing to have it. It was fun to have it. Mm-hmm. And I think it'll be, missed. And if it can pick back up, I know there's probably a lot of people who are willing to throw their hat in the ring and, put their 2 cents in or help. So we'll see, or maybe it'll morph and change into somebody else picks up that sword. So,
well, I saw a Facebook post, if I'm not mistaken, that George Woodland posted up the Got Your Six 21. So I'm not sure if he's got a different group of guys. I don't think Tony's involved anymore, but I think there's an attempt to run one this year, pending our government overlords allowing us to do fucking anything.
Well, that's the catch right there, hey.
Yep. Yeah. So who knows?
All right, staying on track here, I suppose. Yeah.
Yeah. It was a great shoot to participate in. Me?
Yeah.
I am the 50% minority partner of EM Precision. My partner Steve does all the real work, and I get all the credit because he never leaves the shop. I started shooting, I don't know, we're probably talking 05. No, yeah, 05, 06, but I got into 3-gun primarily and shot a little bit of that. And that was right at the time that the CFO was going around closing ranges. They shut our range down and didn't allow us to do that type of stuff. So I bought a Savage 308, and me and my neighbor got out and started doing our little plinking thing. And seeing how we could do. And I mean, within the first week, we're hitting the 800-meter gong over at Genesee, and that was kind of the beginning of it. I ended up going to one of the last 3-gun matches there and met Steve. Steve was always involved in the club, and I was on the executive with him. We did some work with the range for the years. He's now the president. Thankless job. And I told him I had an interest. We got bullshit and said I wanted to get out shooting long, and they took me out to Wolf Lake Road, the Poker Alley Road that we always set up our long range on. And that was my first real long range. And that guy spent the whole day with me teaching me how to get a 308 1,372 meters. And from then I was like, okay, well, I gotta go buy a better rifle. So I knew some guy on DGN
First
who spoke
of how many?
so highly of the 284 that I had to build a 284.
Who would that asshole be?
And then I met that clown at the first poker alley. So Steve and I have been involved in Canadian Historical
Trying to
Art
get the right
Society.
finger the right direction here.
Whoa. Other way.
There we
you go. And shooting and stuff. So we were doing custom builds with another gunsmith buddy of ours, did all the Steves, and Steve got me doing it with him, Jason Anderson, Anderson Arms. And it was funny because it happened right at the time. Not funny. It happened right at the time of the exchange rate drop. So while we had my Defiance and my Krieger and my Bill and everything on order, my $4,700 build very rapidly turned over $6,000 with them.
Yes.
And Steve and I were headed out to Edson one day, going to shoot the mile, and we started talking, figured that there was an opportunity with a lot of Canadian manufacturers that we could do it better, save people money, manage the exchange rates, purchase in properly, and we decided to start it. So I sold my first custom rifle that I had another Smith build to fund our company, and that was 7 years ago. Well, 6.5. Summer of 7 years.
Already, eh?
Wow.
Yeah. You think we'd be bigger and further ahead than we are now, but no.
Oh, because you've done shitty. Good Lord.
Well, poor Steve is like outgrowing his garage here right away, so it might be time to it's commercial space. Steve
started outgrowing his garage 3 years ago, I think, didn't he?
Yeah.
And then you got a spray booth.
Yeah. And then we got another guy working in the shop, Fabian, and increased production, and now the two of them are triple each other in the shop, but it's good.
Fabian takes up some real estate himself.
Yep. Fabian, Steve, yep.
Yeah. Rubbing bellies as they pass by each other beside the bench.
Yeah.
Oh.
But
you give him the front or the back?
Yeah. Moving on.
Steve.
But like you mentioned, it is my 40th, and I was very fortunate. I do have to say thank you to a couple of people. Chase Curtis, you fellows know him. Steve was inspiring with him in the background, and I ended up getting a Curtis Helix single shot for my 40th birthday to do my new ELR gun. And the barrel showed up last week. Macmillan showed up last week, and Steve managed to get the thing chambered, threaded, and put together for me. I am a little behind. I don't have trigger guard. That's on its way. But I want a big thank you to Steve and Fabian. They put in a bunch of work this week to get my rifle ready. And I picked it up this afternoon. And then a huge thank you to Chase because, I mean, that guy really looks after us.
Hey, have you wondered why most other people's rifles take 4 hours to thread and chamber and yours took only 2?
It concerns me a bit, but so far they've all shot. So, actually, you know, my last 2 barrels.
That's how Steve guarantees a win.
That's exactly where I'm going.
Steve tries to get me involved where he can. I'm not real hands-on-y as far as like the lathe goes, but I have chambered my last 2 barrels. He finishes headspace and threads them for me. But
nice.
He just put me on the lathe once in a while when it's my own shit, and it doesn't matter. No matter what, it's out shoot me, I suppose. Like
the 300 blackout you're going to spin up for Mikey?
I don't know.
That's cool. We'll get to that whenever you guys have a chance.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
Be pretty cool little project. But, just ran over my dog.
Oh.
Poor Tango.
I don't know how to make the wall, but here we go.
Oh.
My new 33 XC. I don't know if you can see this or not, but like
the barrel looks really light.
I haven't weighed it just yet, but the boys got it all put together for me here today. So I gotta say thank you. And Chase, obviously nothing but a Curtis.
What happened there?
What?
Back off, Sean.
Sean wasn't getting enough.
I was
attention.
trying to get Shane
No
in full
kidding.
screen
Sean,
to show
Sean
the
wanted to
rifle.
give a headshot to Chase over there. He's like, and to Chase, here you go, Sean.
Nobody wants that shot.
I'm just glad we didn't see the fish lips.
That's right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So. And you
Right
guys
on.
mentioned it. We are delving into the ELR stuff a little bit. So we picked up Mikey's going to participate with us in the ELR side, and Kurt reluctantly is participating with us in the ELR side. So we got a few more of those monster barrels and builds coming out.
Mine's already done, Kurt. So I got the head start on you. So
Are you using Shane's from last year?
I am.
Oh, you are.
Yeah.
Well,
doing the
you know
300
what?
PRC and doing some bullets. I won't be using the factory
I was
225
gonna say,
Fornati that he's using. I've got either. I'm going to
Cool.
be dabbling in. We have the 230 A-tips.
Okay.
Or we have some 215 Badlands solids coming. So I'll play with those two, see where we end up, and
Yeah.
go from there.
Well, I think
Yeah.
the thing shoots anyway.
Well, geez,
How far did you
Well,
get?
if I can place with that rifle shooting shitty factory, then Mikey's gonna crush it with that thing.
Fingers crossed.
No
think-
pressure, bud.
I was gonna
Yeah, I
say
know,
that
now I'm
that,
screwed now. Now
that
if I
rifle
don't
put up
place-
some decent pressures with that ammo.
Yeah.
And you know, what? I mean, that is something. I mean, I blew a third of my primers during that match.
Yeah,
And,
something like that. That was
That
ridiculous.
action still ran like butter. I had no issues. So we put a big, I mean, we're into the 33 XE now for anybody who knows what that is, but we're talking 120 grains of powder and 300 loads doing 3,200. We built another Curtis Helix, and he did an awesome job. I don't know, Sean, I don't know. Can you magnify this? What can you do here? But
Well,
he has a
take
lot
a
of
look at
practice. Magnifying. Yeah, you can do it.
Yeah, this time magnify his
No.
screen instead of yours.
I don't know how
right
to
here,
do that.
right
There
here.
we go. There we go.
Integral recoil lug. Steve completely matched my barrel contour, so
Wow.
we're running a full 1/350 shank on this monster on a standard Remington footprint. So I didn't have to go to the big monsters in order to run this cartridge effectively. Get a big shank on it, and again, nice single shot, 3-lug, oversized bolt. Pretty happy with it.
Well,
Hey,
why
Mike.
don't you? Hey, before we move on, why don't you touch on that build, Shane, if you don't mind? Can we get into a few details on that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're carrying them through most of the 33 XCs and 338 snipe tacks we're doing. It's a fairly steady contour that we've selected. Steve's performed so well at the King of 2 Mile. We're pretty happy with the way it absorbed recoil and even his load development. I think he load developed that in under 30 rounds, including fire.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. Yeah.
It just came together. So we're using KS arms on almost every ELR build except one. And we've gone with gain twists. So with Steve, we went with a gain 10 to 9 twist. Mine's a gain 9.5 to 8.5, just because I'm running a little bit slower than he's going to be. The barrel is a 1/350 for 5 inches and a straight taper to 1.3 inches. And those are KS muzzle brakes. So they're doing up a custom run of 5-port 1.5-inch brakes for us for these big builds. And those guys are awesome to deal with. The barrels it's pretty crazy, the performance we're getting out of those big KS monsters. And really specifically in the 338s, they do a 6 groove, which we found seems to perform really well. I don't have a lot of real empirical data, but again, it shot so well in Steve's. We took another 2 fellas from the King of 2 Miles and rebarreled theirs into an inhaler and a snipe tack, and both of them are shooting really well. So we're pretty happy with that. So we kind of stick along with what works. IBI is going to be we're buying a barrel, but we're putting an IBI on Kurt's build just to try some another Canadian product. That one I got the same contour up to 32 inches. But the tightest twist they can offer is a 9, which we think is plenty for the bullet we're shooting.
It should do, yeah.
Yeah. And then we got another Curtis Helix coming in for that one as part of your build. And I think you got something funky going on with rifles refined for a stock, right?
Yeah, you bet. A young guy out in Nova Scotia, I believe, building me a custom stock, laminated stock, wood laminated. Looks some of his work, or all of his work, if you see it. Look him up on Instagram, Rifles Refined, and he has some amazing stuff. That the patience that he's got to have for that, I can only dream of.
Well, and just looking at the quality of his grips, like his pistol grips, if that can expand thoroughly to the whole stock, that I can't wait to see it. That's going to be phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
He did a really cool. We're talking probably a year, maybe 2 years ago. I saw one posted up from him where he combined the fore end of an MDT ESS with a wooden core. So it had the aluminum chassis, but the stock and the grip. Like, he really did a good job integrating some fancy like Bobinga or walnut or something. It was so classy looking. I thought it was really cool. And I reached out to him a few years ago about working with him. So like we got a slab of laminate over there and can't decide what to do with it. So hopefully, I mean, it's green. So I don't know if that's green, but
I'm gonna go to John Deere and see if I can't get some sponsorship.
Swear words.
Easy does it there, big fella. So and then Mikey's was our first kind of venue, and we with that one, Steve has shot a boomer forever. I think he was one of the first 5 408 shy tacks in Canada. Did 375 snipe tack, 338 snipe tack. So Steve doesn't have a normal size rifle. He only has rifles taller than him. So when we got into the ELR side of things, we wanted to compete. We wanted to get him to 2 miles, but I had an option to shoot it. I just didn't want to. I guess we want to take an opportunity to show people you can build an ELR rifle that's on a standard footprint, standard sort of rifle, compete effectively with it, with match ammunition, with good quality product. And the build cost of a 300 PRC is significantly lower than a shy tack. The brass, the powder, the components.
Yeah, the brass bullets components are the saving of, you can do it on a budget. It's still a complete custom build, and you're still going to have to, the quality parts still aren't cheap, but it's nowhere near when you step into the 338 or before, all this crap happened, the 416s or the 375s.
Well, everything's a budget. Everybody has a budget, right? It's just different budgets.
Exactly. So
well, and Mikey's is a Curtis Helix as well. I built that. We did the big 1.3 shank. We did have to contour it to fit the chassis, but again, it was an off-the-shelf chassis, whiskey KRG. So building the Helixes allowed us to stick to conventional supply lines while still getting into performance. And again, that PRC, I think if I look at my dope again, goes subsonic at like 2250. So it's pretty competitive out to most of the distances that you're going to shoot at the KO2M anyways.
Yeah.
And so
it's just how far is your scope pointing at the ground.
But yeah, so shot last year, and I mean, Kurt, John, you guys were there. I did okay. It was all right. Rifle performed really well. Steve performed better than me as a spotter. And it came out with a decent placing against some bigger calibers. So I don't think it's truly a big handicap. But at the same time, I can go buy a box of factory ammo for $60, and you're not paying $4 a solid for a 375.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's crazy, that stuff.
Yeah,
what are you looking at?
It's going to be fun to play.
Yeah, for sure. What are you looking at for price for those solids again?
Are you on Badlands or like cutting edge?
Yeah, well, either or.
So cutting edge seems to land in Canada right in high 3s, low 4s, depending on the caliber you're at. Doesn't seem real well priced from a consumption point. You can go to Go Big Supply carries the Warners. They're actually priced not too bad for the Warner solids. And they got some good options. They've also got like Mikey PVA, the
Patriot Valley Arms, and from what I understand, they're not the same company, but I think Warner makes PVAs.
No, Josh Kuhn.
Nope.
I think it's Josh Kuhn's over at PVA consulted for Dan Warner on that.
There you go.
On some of the bullets. Yeah. So, I mean, they're a good product. I think off the top of my head.
Warner goes all the way down to 6 mil. The PVAs the Warners have an 88 grain solid, and then PVA has 100 grain 6 mil solid, and then they go all the way up to 338, 375. So like they cover the caliber spread very well.
Wow. When did Patriot Valley start making bullets?
A year and a half ago.
Year?
Yeah. That's got to be new. Holy cow.
Yeah, it's newer. It's just within that year.
Mm-hmm.
And they're landing, I mean, depending on caliber. I mean, you can check out Tom's website, like Go Big there. He I think he's running anywhere from like $150 to $210 a solid, depending on the caliber and the weight and things like that.
Yeah.
We're not really into the components. I mean, I bring in the stuff that nobody else will. So I supply some 25 cal blackjacks here because we do a lot of well, not a lot, but we do 25 Creedmoors, and I shoot one myself. We've also lined up with Badlands Precision for their solids. I didn't see anybody else doing them in Canada, and they were really competitively priced. And I'm seeing some bigger names down in the States already using them in the ELR stuff. So we thought there was an opportunity there to bring in something and support the team with some product. And obviously, if you guys want to pre-order, we can bring in product across the border for them. But we're not really into brass and components. I'm going to have some 33XC stuff and some 25 Creedmoor, but we don't chase that. There's lots of guys who do that type of work.
You see Burgers put out a new 25 bullet head.
Yeah, the 135.
Yes, sir.
I know. I'm sitting all day because my boner
he's smiling. He's like, it's like it was like an early birthday present.
You know, I keep finding more and more reasons to build the 25 Rooster.
Yeah, well, you know what? The boys over at Blackjack are pretty awesome to deal with, but their supply comes from Sierra, and with this whole COVID thing, there's been a massive drop in production, manpower at the facility, and of course, because they're a boutique bullet builder, they come last. Sierra makes Sierra before they make.
That's why I shoot a 110 SMK.
Yeah, or the Blackjack. So I do have several thousand on order. I think I talked to Logan here yesterday, and he said it was looking at about 8 weeks. But that was an order placed in November. So it'll be nice to have an alternative. But there's also Dale Jensen, Chinchaga Bullets out of Pinoak, Alberta.
That was my next
25
question.
cals. Yeah, I tested his 135 for him, and it shot well. He was decent. And he's actually, so many requests, he's going into a high BC 25. It's going to be somewhere between 130 and 140 grains. So I'm going to be getting some of those to trial and demo as soon as he's ready to test them.
How's he been doing lately? Like he was, I don't know, he's going through some health stuff a couple of years ago or something like that. His production was way down. Is he back churning them out now?
It sounds like that. Yeah. Like, I mean, I don't know Dale super well. We've engaged in business over the years. I can't speak to his personal life a pile, but yeah, he was sick. He did take a couple of seasons off. But he's back into producing. But he's a one-man show, and he makes hand-swaged bullets. So if you're a comp shooter and you phone him up for 5,000, it's going to be a little wait. But Steve's been shooting his 325 grain, 338.
Oh, yeah.
And he's had them all the way out to 2,600 yards, and they perform consistently and really well. So I like supporting any opportunity you have, and obviously you've got Blackjack Burger and Chinchaga available for guys up here in Canada to build 25. The 25 is very, very hard to argue with. Like I shoot my whole team. Mikey shoots a 6 Creedmoor. Kerry shoots a 6XC. Raz and Colin both shoot Creedmoors
as well with 115 D-Tacs.
Yeah, they run 115 D-Tacs. Mikey and Kerry are running 110 SMKs, and I'm running 25 Creedmoor. Our vertical dial, we can basically run each other's dope all match. I shoot less wind.
I think out to 1,000. Our vertical dials is off by 0.1 or 0.2 mil.
That close. Holy
100%.
Wow.
Just you get the velocity spread, and our BCs are so close. The 25's got a little bit more weight. The 115 D-Tacs, I used to shoot those when I did my 6 mil Crusader, which is a blown out 6 mil rem, like a 32 degree shoulder and stuff like that. It was great. I shot it my first season of PRS, and when you have a straight walled cartridge and you're shooting a lot and a Remington extractor, you get a failure to extract and a double feed and a bolt gun on a timed stage, which sucks. So I switched over to the Creed, and the only reason I don't do the D-Tacs is because it's when I first started shooting it, I couldn't get it. It's like I had 300 of it, and then they disappeared. So I tried to go over to the 105 Burger Hybrid, but that was when they had just come out. So that was kryptonite. Like, you couldn't get it. So I switched over to the 108 Bowtails, which had a lower BC, but I could find them on the shelf everywhere. And so now with the 110s, it's the same reason why I didn't go with the D-Tac. I know Sierra makes the D-Tac. I know they make the Blackjack. And when supply lines get lean, they make their product first, whether it's the best product or not. They fulfill their stuff. So that's why I'm shooting that. And it's got a ridiculous BC. Some people, I think, have, with the 110 Sierra, it hasn't really caught on as well, which for me is good because it's always available. But people are going, oh, well, I just had problems trying to shoot it. And I think most people are trying to shoot it in their 1 in 8 twists because that's what 6 Creed used to be. Only recently have they gone down to bullets that need a 1 in 7.5 or 1 in 7 twist. So for me, I like shooting the 110. Literally everything I throw at it, it shoots. So I don't care if other people shoot it or not. It works and it shoots well.
Yeah, and we got to say, like, Gothic Line Armory looks after us for our Sierra supply. So a big thanks to Rob and Ryan over there. They do look after us. I mean, we place our orders, they come in. Again, Mikey and I are planners. When we buy for our gun, we buy enough to shoot out a barrel because we're stuck with this seasonal bullshit of there's no primers. When the primer shortage, you guys had that young kid from Reloading All Day?
Yeah.
When he mentioned the U.S. primer shortage, I called out John at Tundra. I was like, how many 450s do you have? He's like, well, I don't know, like 8,000. I'm like, I'll take them all. How many Magnums do you have? And he says, well, I got about 4,000. I'm like, I will take all of those as well.
Yeah.
So me and my team are looked at. You know, and you say that until you need primers. My team are looked after for the next season.
I've been doing that for, like, when I started in 2008. I don't know how all this stuff works, and then I wait for an action for however long. So it's like when my primers came in, and back in 2008, there was another shortage because, of course, there was everything going on, and I'm like, I was shooting 210 Match Kings and or 210 gold medal match, and I'm like, okay, how many of those can I get? I think I still have boxes of large rifle primers because I bought 7,000 of them. And so I've got one box of those still sitting there left. I have 3 boxes of 215Ms, and then I've got all my CCIs. I've got 3,000 or 4,000 of those because, again, like, I'll talk to people and they're like, yeah, I want to try this new cartridge or this new caliber. And Shane said the same thing to them, like, just be prepared that when you make your order enough for the life of the barrel, because something might happen and you might not see it. And I'll see guys posting stuff up and they're like, oh, I got my 2,000 burgers for my 6 dasher, and I'm like, holy shit. But then I'm looking at my own supply and I'm like, well, I've got 1,500 210 matches, or sorry, the 110 SMKs, and I've got another box of a couple boxes of 100 sitting over there. So I'm in the same boat, and it's a bit of a, you feel like you're throwing money away at the beginning of it, but then all of a sudden it's like, okay, I'm shooting and you're not.
And you know what? I'll be honest. I don't mind spending or putting away a couple $100 a month in the winter, and then just calling up. Like, I've got a couple of favorite support sources. Like, I'll give Brent Webster a shout out over in your co-op. That dude, if you guys don't know about him, holy shit, you're missing out on reloading stuff. Like, it's a co-op, but the guy's one of the top F-class shooters. So he's passionate about it, and he's got fantastic stock. I got out of guys winning because I couldn't compete with Brent anymore. So he's good to deal with. His shipping is super cheap. We get, I would say, 80% of our components through Brent now.
We got our last batches of powder through him.
Yep, and Sierra specifically, I get through Gothic. But Mickey is going to laugh. Actually, so will Kurt. I fucking hate Hornady. I'm not a fan of Hornady, and I've shot 2 different proprietary cartridges that only Hornady had brass for. The bullets, I've chased inconsistency after inconsistency, and I just haven't been happy with it. So me personally,
I think that's a Shane problem, but
I'm Lapua Cinar and Sierras are my go-to bullets. Yeah. Obviously, when you jump into a 25 cal, you basically bend over for any available 25 cal you can find. So I think it's good that they're coming out with another available option from Berger. But I moved from Berger years ago too because I got really sick of going to the store and seeing it was a race for 140 hybrids or it was a race for 300 burgers. Like it got to be, they are premium. They're the top level. There's no questioning Berger at all. But I can get just as well with a Cinar, and nobody seems to care about the Cinars because they post up grossly low BCs. Right. And in the end, guys really worship at the ground at BC. It ain't the be-all versus existing. And I think the King of 2 Miles is a big example of that because the top 10% are all shooting cutting edge, have the lowest BCs out of all of the solids. And perform in transition the best. So for me, it's about getting a consistent bullet. We're shooting 1,000, 1,200 yards in PRS. It's not far. I don't need to chase that last 10% in BC if I can find a bullet that's readily available and shoots consistently.
Yeah. Hey, what do you guys think? For sure. What do you guys think of that? The new Match King nose profile versus the traditional. Is that, like, I bought a bunch of the 150 Match Kings to try in my 6.5 Rooster, and they shot like shit. I put 142s back through it, and it's amazing how well they shoot.
Well, the 150 is the same as the 110, right? With the long toe drive.
That's right. That's right.
Yes.
Well,
I think it's a twist, more of a twist stability issue in the sense of, because of course it's on the 110. It almost looks like they've shaped the me plat to get you that extra like 6-7% of BC on it. And I think it just comes down to, it is a long ass bullet.
For sure.
So to have people who are like, I can't get this thing to shoot, I can't get it to shoot, and you're running, they're running in a 1 8 twist. That's just on the ragged edge. Some people, you might get it, you might not. And that comes down to, well, is it button or is it cut rifle? Is it a true 1 8 twist or is it a 1.7?
Mine's supposed to be 7.5, so I figured I should be able to get away with it, but it's just not liking it.
And it might be a matter of velocity, twist, balance, and it's like you might have been better off with a 1 7. I don't know, but like I said, with the 1 10, I have had zero issues with my current setup, and where people have had others, and it just has come down to velocity and twist.
I was a little bit surprised, like when I did the load development for the Blueberry, that 6XC. I ended up with 45 thou jump and 90 thou jump worked equally as well, and I was really surprised that at a 90 thou jump it shot as well as it did.
Well, and it's the same thing I've read and heard about all the 110s. Is right now I'm seating it at I'm at about 45 thou off the lands.
Oh, you are,
and that's out of a Creed, not an XC, and it's been shooting great. And it shoots off of 90, and everywhere you read about the 110, they're like, yeah, 90 thou off the lands, 90 thou off the lands.
Oh,
that's
right?
Where the hot spot is. And so I've just loaded it at 45, and of course I'm shooting a 6 Creed, so I might get a little bit of erosion and this, that, and I'm just not worried about it. I check on it.
No.
And for the most part, if it's still shooting, it's still shooting. And as much as I can sit there and, I've got groups that are like 0.2, 0.3, and we sit in these perfect conditions. As long as the reality, we're shooting 2 to 3 MOA targets in PRS.
Right.
So yeah, the gun still needs to shoot, but I can shoot a 1/3 of an inch group here, and then I'm going to hang it off a barricade or a rope, and my 1/3 of a minute gun turns into a minute of pie plate. Like it's more about building your position, shooting it, timing, consistency, and stuff like that. And some people can do it better than me, and some things I'm still learning, and some things I'm just good at. Like there are stages where I know I'm like, this is a stage that I should have, and there are other stages like I should be dry firing more.
I don't have any
practice. Yeah. So,
well,
Sean, you need to jump in here. You're the guy doing the learning here.
I'm just listening.
I was going to say before we move off of yours.
Oh, Sean, you just need to come and shoot one.
Just
come shoot one, because as much as it's like the old swimming, teaching kids to swim mentality of like, let's just go throw them in the water and see if they drown or not.
Yep.
They call that child abuse now.
To shoot underwater.
But the PRS shooting community, and I would say most of the shooting community as a whole, I know, of course, you got your outliers and this, that,
For sure.
It doesn't matter what squad you really shoot with. Our last match that we did in Medicine Hat, we had guys come out, and I think it was probably their first match, and it's just everybody's helping everybody.
For sure.
It's the new guy. It's like, well, what's your win call? Well, this is what I'm holding, but you're shooting a 308, so double it. Or, hey, can I use your bag? Can I do this? Or as me and Shane have both learned, it's like the rotation changes. So you're never the first person shooting every time. It just goes through rotation. And I've done it. Shane's done it. I remember Shane doing it at the last one in Cranbrook, where it was that you're shooting off this horse gate guard thing, and it's every shot you need to move. And he's like, I'm going to try using the tripod as a rear support. And he couldn't get all his rounds off, and he just walked up the line. He's like,
one out of 5 fucking positions.
No matter what you do, don't do that. Don't do what I did.
Yeah, don't take the tripod. It took way too long to fucking set up, and then everyone just ran eggs and fucking shot the thing. Carrie almost cleaned it. Carrie, Mikey, and Raz almost cleaned that Know Your Limit stage.
I would have done much better had Shane not been keeping score, because he was trying to make sure that he beat me.
Shane keeps score? Shocking.
Yeah, exactly. You don't say.
Just deduct one here.
Yeah, but that's the type of community PRS is like we go out to the Sapro matches, and at the end of the day, those matches are 2-day premium matches. They're really affordable, and they're affordable because everybody chips in. You got guys who are volunteering. They're more experienced shooters. They're volunteering to run a squad. And then everybody in the squad, one person's keeping score. There's at least 2 people on spotter. Another guy's picking brass because we're all paying $1 a piece for brass at least, so we don't want to lose it. And everybody just take turns. And then it's like, hey, do you mind if I use your tripod? Do you mind if I use your bag? Well, we trimmed down the amount of kit we needed to bring because we're all sharing the same kit anyways. So there's no sense carrying 30, 50, 60 pounds worth of stuff. But to just, I know it's a worry because it's competition and all of us guys are type A's and we want to whatever, but it's, you get
Mike,
out there and you just,
I've got experience. I've never shot a PRS match before, but I've shot IPSC, IDPA, 3-gun. So I know the ins and outs of matches, but I've never shot a PRS. And I'm definitely going to be coming out if COVID, allowing. Definitely, I've been in touch with Sean at Sapril. I've been in touch with other guys that ask Kurt. I'm gearing up and
well, and sign up in a squad of people like that's what we do. We've got our 4 or 5 guys in our squad, and then the rest are open to whoever. So find somebody familiar, and you just it's so good to jump off that cliff.
And being now that my game is done, 3-gun ARs and it's done. I can still go shoot IPSC if I really want. But yeah, exactly. So Mike Heineck said something about CRPS, which is going to make Shane a little pissy. But shooting rimfire and shooting PRS, that's the only game in town. And I'm going to be showing up, and that's half the battle is showing up, right? So
I think you're obligated to now, aren't you? Because now you've got.
I don't have a say.
Helped you get.
Well, now if you don't, we're just going to shame you. We're literally going to come on the show, type comments, and shame you.
Yeah, a dude with a built-in pump. Well, a dude with a built-in pump pillow needs to fucking show up to a match there, bud.
That's right.
Not funny? Funny.
No.
I'll be there.
Yeah. No, and Mikey's right. I'm not a really athletic or sports guy, so I haven't participated in a lot of the stuff since I was a kid. But I've never been involved in a group that's so ready and willing to be like, here's my $5,000 rifle, just go shoot it. Like, here's my $2,000 spotting scope, have at her. Whatever you need to try, look at, test. Mikey and his wife, Steph, and my wife all got together, got me a cheater plate, a gray ops. So thanks to the boys at Insight, they looked after the family there. But a gray ops is Dave Preston. He's one of Curtis's sponsored shooters. Makes a little plate that goes on the bottom of your arc, but it widens your base so your rifle doesn't rotate. But it also has a heavy fill bag that you can clip onto it, so everything's attached to your rifle. Like, we tried those, we played with them. Raz has that arc Area 419 sticky bag. These things are expensive. Like, these accessories aren't cheap, and it's nice for when a guy can go out, test it, shoot it. Like Nelson shot with us on that last match with a factory and did great, but he had a chance to touch and feel and hold some chassis and stuff. And I see the other day he upgraded to a Cadex or a Stika. Yeah. But when you're looking at those big investments, it's real hard to get and test these things and feel them. But you get to a match, everybody wants you to touch their stuff and feel it and try it out and come and get into the sport. It's a little
inappropriate at times, but it happens.
That's not a lie.
What happens on the range stays on the range.
Yeah.
But that's exactly it. You look down the line and you've got every variety of chassis, stock, accessory. And then we've got the benefit of we've created our own little PRS team. So it's literally Raz has that Area 419 bag rider plate, this, that. Shane now has a cheater plate, or I've got a spotting scope. Shane's got one. And it's just, people don't have to go buy it now. I've got a tripod, and Shane's got one. One's designated for the spotting scope, one's designated for shooting prop, and it just everybody else shares it, and somebody falls on the sword is like, oh, I got this, and then let's just share it with the group. And it makes things lighter and it makes things cheaper.
Sean,
we a shooting team, but Mike is our only sponsor shooter on it. Raz and Colin are good buddies of Mike's, and they've become friends of mine, and they've just been supportive. So we got to do up a bunch of jerseys and really represented the group. And we found over the last season, it actually, it seemed to affect the business quite a bit. It was really good. We got to mentor and talk to a lot of new shooters that wouldn't have normally approached us. But I think the people that we've selected to bring to the team, like Mike, they're great brand ambassadors. They're very approachable. Yeah, and guys will take you, mentor you.
Thank God, because Shane isn't.
Hey, but it's like you, Kurt. You were one of those original guys. You were on CGN as one of those resources. The guy could bug and message, and you didn't condescend. You didn't bully a guy. It's very difficult.
You haven't been to one of my shoots yet.
That's not bullying.
It's
That's
condescension with love behind it.
That's right. I am full of love.
But it's a real challenge for guys to get in because the internet's full of guys with no experience, no knowledge, who can post up any fucking stupid they want. And it's very, very difficult. Like when I got in, Google was a resource, YouTube, and I went through it and I tried to find my stuff. But honestly, Steve's my mentor. He took me under and he said, get rid of that. Don't do that. Stop wasting your time. This is what you need to focus on. And that was a big focus for us getting into the company, was helping people with that first purchase and getting into it. So you're not going through all the pain and suffering that we went through buying Vortex and learning that it's total garbage, and then going to the Trigicon and then finding out the glass was amazing, but it had no elevation, so it didn't do the job. And then losing money and buying the next one. And Mikey, Jesus, you should see his resume of equipment he's bought and sold. Like, we've all been through it, and it's the only way we can learn.
Yeah. The only one I really missed selling was my March scope. And the only reason is I had the FML1 reticle in it, and I wanted a Christmas tree reticle really bad, but I had a 5 to 40 power scope.
Yeah.
And it was fun, and I used it for 8 years. I had my 6mm Crusader for 6 years. And then, I'm not really sad about the changeover. I don't have to work the brass. You want to make your rooster, you go ahead. I'm sick of working like fire foreman and blah, blah, blah. People are like, no, Dasher, but Lapua is the best brass, so don't buy the other. And I'm like, no, I'm not fire foreman.
It's my therapy.
Hey, whatever keeps you from killing us.
He posted up the groups and the velocity after all that work. I was like, Christ, I have the same load on 6.5 Creedmoor.
Go fuck yourself, Steve. With love.
Steve.
Oh, that was you?
Yeah. That was me. 100% it was me. I thought Steve, Rooster.
I thought Steve, you're coming out of your shell a little bit there, bud.
No, I worked up a load for a customer who was working out on Trans Mountain on the pipeline, and he just didn't have the time, so he gave me his rifle, paid me. I don't do it for free, guys. And I worked it up, and I was blown away. His was the fastest Creedmoor I've ever seen. He had a load cell at 2790 at 40.7 grains, which is super low, and then the other one was 2980. Primers are fine. Bolt lift was good, but I knew it probably wasn't the right load. But 42.2.
It was latex spray in his barrel, but
yeah. Well, it's like Sean's Creedmoor there when I worked up his load, just pretty much right on 2800 at 41.6. That guy, is that a signal to carry or what?
Yeah, I think she's watching, and she should not let the glass go down like that. Like, baby, it's birthday.
Yeah.
But what did you say that guy's you're getting 2790 at 40 point what? That's low. That's a fast barrel, man.
I think it was 42.3 or 42.6. I went all the way to 43.1. I blew the primers at 42.9, but not at 43.1.
Yeah.
I don't imagine I got 3 bad primers in a row, but I'm not sure because there was no other pressure science.
That's pushing the shit out of that, man.
Yeah, but at 42, I had a good load at 2880, and at 2880. Yeah, and then at 42.3, 42.6, it had jumped into the 2940, 2930, but it wasn't shooting well up there. I mean, the ESs were still good, but it wasn't. It didn't like it.
Yeah. You guys think the 6.5 PRC will replace the 6 Creed?
No,
and why not?
Completely different purposes and 100% fantastic standalone cartridges. But you're dealing with a short action standard bolt face versus a short mag. So you can't build them on the same gun without a bolt face swap. The 6.5 Creedmoor, I'm going to jump on the Creedmoor bandwagon and fuck you guys in your man bun bullshit. But the Creedmoor is not the messiah of long range that all these internet losers say.
No.
But it is a very well thought out,
It is
complete package. Hornady design engineers put a shoulder datum where they needed it, designed the throat, 1.5 degree leads. The free bore is appropriate for the 130s all the way to the 156s. It's just the whole thing. The neck diameter, it's all a complete package, and that's your chamber and your caliber. No, it doesn't do anything different. Fucking Pat. Jesus Christ, Rob. But it doesn't do anything the 260 didn't do. It just does it in a factory standard configuration without pissing around. The 6.5 PRC is just the Magnum big brother, right? The 6.5 SOM existed forever, but brass and agreements, it's just Hornady. Hornady owned the Ruger Compact Magnum. They based it on the Ruger Compact Magnum. The 6.8 Western, that one's a little harder to understand or justify. I see one, but it's a 270 short
one
mag. The short.
That's the 270 bullet in a short action with the. It's jumping on the short action bandwagon.
Oh,
So
I
we got
thought
a metric designation.
Yeah,
I
they've
thought it
got
was that
some new
one
bullets.
based off the 3030 cartridge.
No.
No,
Well, in the 6.5,
that's
the
Western.
the 6.5 PRC is a great caliber, and it gets you into those. If you want to shoot a 156 or like those 147 pluses in the 6.5, that's going to get you there. The problem is when if you're using it for something like PRS, recoil management, powder barrel, everything like that. It just, I know some guys did use it. I watched guys using it way back in the day when Gap came out with it with the 6 SOM, and it was great. Yeah, and my old shooting partner Matt Naddick shot one for the longest time, and it's a great caliber. But for what we're doing and purpose driven, the 6.5 Creed, the 6 mil, even the 25, it's not that the Creedmoor, like Shane said, is the end all be all. It's a well thought out case design with a nice shoulder, with a nice this, that. They did good marketing, but they also provided, they provided the service. When have you ever gone and been like, oh geez, I can't find Creedmoor brass? Whether it might be Hornady brass, and you might be like, oh, it's shit Hornady brass, but you still have brass. You can still shoot it. So there's nothing wrong with it at all. It's just it's the hype that really, and you guys know me, I'm the anti-herd guy. Just because the herd's doing this, I'm like, fuck off. I'm up on the hill over here. That's my only problem with it.
Between full-time jobs, I want to spend my time on the range, not prepping brass. And then you also have the experience. I mean, you've been reloading since I was born. Yeah. So, but you have the experience, and a lot of the new shooters don't. The PRS is such a massive, fast-growing sport right now that you're getting a lot of new shooters, a lot of novice reloaders, and when you start to go into really boutique or crazy stuff, that's when they struggle more. And Mike's right. Like I shot a 6.5 SOM for one season, and that was a big thing. George Gardner, we can get right to 3150, heaviest bullet, best in wind.
Yep.
But Jesus, you couldn't see a target. Like it recoiled off. I knocked targets down all the time. And I got rid of that, and I went back to my 6.5-47 because it was a nice middle road. It just performed consistently to all my distances. It was better on barrel life, and the recoil was manageable. And
just so you guys know, this is probably the first season Shane will not be changing calibers.
Whoa. That depends on Blackjack's supply. I might have to throw the 6.5 barrel on if they don't show up.
That's true.
Well, backing up just a little bit, what you're saying about the sport growth, you have to kind of give credit to Hornady and the 6.5 Creedmoor.
Oh my gosh.
Because it allowed so many guys to participate, because they didn't have to hand load.
100%. They provided match factory ammo.
He try and find 260 match ammo.
Well, good luck. The 6 mil Creedmoor 108 ELDM. I know Shane was just crapping on Hornady and all that stuff, but for last year's season, that's what I shot was the 108 Hornady.
I'm glad somebody's addressing his accent.
I'll say however I want, or Hornady, or whatever.
That's
I
Southern,
don't care.
isn't it?
Everybody mispronounces it. Some say Hornady, some say Hornaday, some say Hornady.
Hey, if you're calling me Southern, I'll take it, because right now, well, I don't know right now. They're not doing better than we are, but still.
I just think we should all agree that it's pronounced Hornady.
I think Steve Hornady calls it Hornady.
Yes.
Yeah, I guess it is a guy's name.
pretty
so
sure.
Hornady.
just call it
Fine.
the way he calls it.
Hornady. Anyways, but
What do you guys think of that? Oh, sorry.
Well, sorry.
I shot the
I
bolts
missed
last
Calvin.
time.
What did he say? Did Calvin
You
just say
missed
the 6 Creedmoor is the new 308?
That's what he's saying. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, not the new
There
AF.
you go. Well, you know what? It's funny because it's the hype and it's the anti-hyper. But you can almost completely base a company off of the Creedmoors and the PRCs and meet virtually, I would say, 80% of the market needs with 4 calibers. And the 6.5 PRC, the 300 PRC, they've had some ammunition issues as of late, and that's just about production, and Gert knows all about it. But Jesus, very rarely can you just go take and build a gun and throw any of the factory match loads and compete with guys who are hand loading. So the fact that they put that level of effort in and that engineering, it's really impressive for guys to get into.
If I didn't have, if I had the money resources to just buy ammunition, I would shoot the 108 Hornady match 6mm, because I used the bullets to hand load. They shot great. I switched over to the 110 this year, but I built I have a Stag 10 before that, turned into a paperweight. And I built it up all nice, this, that. I made it in 6 Creedmoor because I want to be different like that, because I don't want a pencil barrel storm the gates, 308. I shot with factory ammo. I was shooting 0.3 to 0.5 out of a semi-auto Stag. You're like, well,
that's wild.
I'm not gonna argue with that. If I could, to save myself time, so that, like, I used to be shooting and I was, single, and it'd be like, oh, I need to go shoot. No one's available. I'd drive an hour to go to the field.
Are we talking about gas guns now? Can I talk?
You can talk in a second. But
Hold.
I'd go out and just shoot. I'd be by myself in the damn field just to go shoot. Well, now I got a wife, and I got a friggin' 18-month-old, and that don't happen as much anymore. So when you go, you got to go. But to be able to just sit there and throw a box of ammo in, and you're like 500 meters, 5-inch plate with my Stag, and I'm like, ping, 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 ping. Okay, that was beautiful. Put it away.
How
I'm
did
done.
that go again?
Ping, 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 ping.
Thank you.
There was a blank in there. You know that.
Yeah.
But
So
like I've heard a lot of guys crap on the AR-10 style, platform, and no, there's a reason it's used in. Well, a lot of people go online, CGN.
yeah.
Guys are saying, you need a nice bolt gun and a fucking blah blah blah. And I'm just like, listen, if it's so shitty, why are guys like Miles from Callsign 66? Why did they prefer that when they were deployed in the fucking desert?
Yeah, I think some of it comes to repeatability, like rapid shots and this, that, and the other thing. I think it also comes down to the quality of components. I think I shared a meme with Shane the other day, and it sent it. And it's like, all you need is you don't need a $1,000 gun to shoot or compete, and it was an AR. It's like, you need a $500 gun or a $1,500 gun. You need $500 gun and $1,000 worth of ammo and training. And then it shows you a split bolt and all this stuff, and it's like, this is the $500 gun.
Well, people say that, but people show up to carbine classes with Norinco DA556 from Canada Ammo, and they're running them, and they're going to find the shortfalls eventually, but it's still a $500 gun that gets them into training, right? And
that's in Canada per se. But when you go into the US and you can actually have a 30-round mag or this, that, but even with my Stag 10, I didn't just build my standard Stag 10 and it's like, okay, this is what it is. I have a Stag 10 and I've got a JP full mass bolt. I got a JP reciprocating this. I got a proof barrel. I've got an adjustable gas block. And some people are like, oh, that's overkill. That's overkill. I bedded and sealed and shimmed the barrel.
Bedding the barrel.
Loctite.
The barrel extension into the receiver. That's the biggest weak point of an AR is the barrel extension into the receiver. The machining tolerances from brand to brand to brand, they're generally slow. So that machine makes some collets that you put it in there to shim it and fill it, or you can just use bedding compound and release, set it so you have friction fit barrel. And when you go to your next barrel, you Dremel it out and you do your next one. But that movement between your extension is a big deal.
Yeah, we use metal shim stock, like 0.1 thou kind of thing, or a thou. Blah, blah, blah. And then red Loctite and all that stuff. Like you're watching stuff on the internet and you're like, I don't know if this is going to make a difference. It made a friggin' difference.
Yeah.
It 100% does. So some of it comes into quality of parts, quality of build. But at the end of the day, yeah, if I was in the desert dealing with all that, I want as many rounds available to me as possible. And if it's minute of angle versus half minute, that'll do.
Absolutely. And you got to consider the tightness of parts, like the clearances between parts and that too.
Sand and gunk, and you might want a little bit more tolerance. So
I have a feeling that the conditions you're shooting in and the cadence that you're shooting at and all that.
It's not even the same.
Nobody's shooting back at you.
I can't even speak to that stuff. So
AR-10 is a masturbatory exercise right now because they're all just like paperweights.
Yeah. They are paperweights.
What do you think is going to happen? Like, do you think that the Renegade and the Maverick and all the other straight pulls like them are going to take off? And do you think that they're going to work as well as a regular bolt action?
I think they're going to take off.
They already have.
They've taken off, but I think they're really going to take off because everybody's got a crap load of parts that they can't use. Like even me with my Stag, I'm like, okay, I've got money invested in this thing and I've basically got paperweights. I can't even sell them if I wanted to. Whereas now I can buy an upper and a lower receiver, and they include the new bolt, the new bolt carrier. I put it together, and it's kind of like a, abortionist Frankenstein bolt gun. So, but if it works and if it's going to shoot, that's great.
But do you think that it'll shoot as well as a typical bolt gun?
I'm going to have to try it. I think
it'll shoot better.
Because
so you don't have the reciprocating mass of the semi-automatic system. The reciprocating mass is very difficult. While Mikey can shoot in threes, a lot of shooters can't deal with 2 recoil impulses on an AR to get groups that small. So that's one of the big challenges with using an AR platform accurately. And again, he mentioned they use low mass bolt carriers to help reduce that.
Well, and different buffers, different sprays.
Do you think it'll shoot as well as your typical bolt gun, though?
Yeah.
Or do you think they can
hang on, my audio went to crap,
shoot as well as your typical bolt gun? That's where I'm.
For PRS, sure. In fact, I think a gas gun probably has a significant advantage in PRS.
No,
but again,
absolutely, that's why they have different classes, man.
No,
that's why they're not allowed to compete against us.
Gas gun, the paperweight. What I mean is, do you think that, for example, a Maverick in 6.5?
No,
could be made to shoot as well as your typical bolt gun in 6.5. And I'm not talking about like your custom EM, like kick-ass rifle. I'm talking about let's say somebody with a custom 700.
I think the accuracy potential, no matter what is there with that build, if done correctly, because the receiver has very little to do with it. It's about how you're assembling the barrel and the receiver to it. Right. I think the manual of arms is piss poor. I think the ergonomics suck. An AR is only ergonomic because it's semi-auto. As soon as you turn it into a bolt gun, the bolt's not where you want it. You don't have a buttstock to support yourself the same way you do with a bolt gun. If you're running an AR as a bolt gun, build a fucking bolt gun. Like, to me, it's a big, and me, I'm an asshole. But I have a real issue with our industry just completely capitulating. And I mean, there's a plus and a minus. So these guys are seeing a hole. Guys want to get out shoot. Like Mikey's got a big paperweight. Well, that upper lower, we get them there. But every time our industry capitulates to bullshit legislation and gives in, and it's you're going to get me onto politics, is the fucking masks and everything. Every time we say, sure, no problem, here's our workaround, we're giving up ground.
Yeah,
true.
And that's my major problem. Whereas I would rather see the manufacturers put that money into a lawsuit.
Well, that and let's take Maccabee Defense as a prime example. They're losing 100% of their sales based on the OIC, and that's signed on a permanent record based on the injunction that just happened yesterday. So for them, that's their only option. Wyatt's a good guy south of Calgary. There, he's a farmer too, but that doesn't. Yeah, and it's tough in situations like that. Now back to the point of the MRA Maverick and the MRA Renegade. and others like it taking off. They already have. Look at look at all the distributors that are carrying them.
To be fair, selling out your pre-orders and selling out your run doesn't necessarily mean that it's taken off. You know, like everybody could buy it when it first comes out, and everybody could be like, nah, and just throw it in their safe.
Well, I'm very curious to see the numbers. Like, and Ken, if you're listening, if you want to text me how many of those you've sold, I'm not going to share numbers on the podcast. I'm just
somebody might have pre-ordered one.
Well, yeah, and
full disclosure.
me and John built one for the show, and it's the build videos on our website, the Renegade. And, you know, it's a little finicky. I'm not going to lie. It's, you know, just the way you build it. It's not like an AR. You're putting a lot of torque on that upper receiver, and it's just 67
inch pounds?
No, the aluminum. It's not 70-75. It's the step down.
60-61.
That's it, 60-61. And so it's really light and really kind of finicky. And the way you're torquing it, if you're not using that torque rod properly and applying sufficient pressure on the locking lugs to that while you're torquing down a barrel nut, there's a little nipple on there. It's all on the video that you could just shred those threads. And that happened to us in the first one. Ryan at MRACE or Maple Ridge Armory stepped up and gave us a new one. But, you know, I'm curious to see how many of those we have that have occurred out there. But, you know, being that, like Mikey said, that's the only real platform. When you have, you know, some people, not people in this room, but some people have, you know, 6 to 10 or 15 platforms that are just sitting there collecting dust, and you've got, you know, anywhere from $500 to $5,000 in parts in these things. Mm-hmm. You know, you can't just have them sit there. You have to put those parts to work, right? So,
well, and that it really is the shitty thing, because everyone's caught in this terrible limbo right now while we're trying to figure out what it means. And I mean, we're in it too. When that prohib went through, we had 250 cals, a 408. 375, well, 2 375s all in the shop. So I mean, these are guys with $10,000 bills that are like, oh, by the way, you still have to pay for it, but you're not allowed to shoot it. You want another barrel on top of this one. And that's what happened is a lot of guys rebarreled, or a lot of guys took possession of prohibs waiting for the legalities. But the fact that Canadians are so willing, and I'm not criticizing, I'm not because I get it. It is what it is. And Mikey makes a great point about
we deserve
paperwork. I can use it. But the fact that we're so ready and willing to line up to buy the next product to skirt such bullshit legislation,
to take the California route.
Yeah, rather than dragging our politicians down the front steps and putting in people who represent us. That, to me, is what bothers me deeper.
I'm not sure there's such a problem with buying what's available legally on the market. I think the problem comes that we're willing to buy what's on the market to skirt, and we're not willing to stand up and fight at the same time.
I agree with that. That's well said.
But you guys did see the transcripts that the FRT is not a legally binding document, according to the
judge. Although that was more of a comment to the ruling.
Not the judge. Yeah, it's on the permanent record. That
was what Murray Smith said. Yeah.
Yes, he said it's not legally binding. So
he admitted it.
Anything that's not named that OIC, you could potentially go out and shoot. But if it's on the FRT as prohibited, you know, you could potentially still get arrested. And don't take this as legal advice, but you still get arrested, and then you're going to have a significant cost there.
The reality of that is, from my experience, is unfortunately the people there's a small group of people, like-minded people like us, that know and enforce all those laws. So then you get people who either don't know, don't care, and they're enforcing the laws. And at the end of the day, it's like, find out when court's done. Yeah. Well, now you're taking it to court, paying legal fees for defending something that you know is true, but it's so gray and muddied that whether these people have ill intent towards you, and most cops don't, but that's the job. So you do it, and whether you're right or wrong, it's not their problem. They lay it, they walk away. Your stuff gets seized, your stuff is held, and you're now waiting on it.
I think Rod Gilpatrick says it pretty well. In Canada, the punishment is the process. It doesn't matter if all your charges are going to get dropped and you're going to walk away from it at the end of the day if you're $100,000 poorer.
Yeah. I think that's the intentional deterrent. Right?
Well, sure,
yeah.
Well, and it's interesting hearing that perspective from Mike, because while he's being all secretive or cagey about it, Mike is law enforcement, so he has firsthand experience. And with the guys he works with and deals with, there are very few people who truly understand the Firearms Act in law enforcement.
For sure.
You don't get a gunny just because they're wearing a gun. And,
You don't get the
guys
expert.
Mike,
Well,
Mike's
I will always say the RCMP Depot Division is in Regina, where I'm at now, and they rented the Regina Wildlife Federation to do their carbine quals, and I watched the first 3 weeks of those, and I've never seen more piss poor firearm handling and shooting, and that's at 10 yards in my entire life, and and these guys are carrying them around, and God forbid they ever have to use them because. It was.
But that's the thing. The odds of them using them in most cases are so low. There's no emphasis on that sort of training.
Still, though, and this is the part of the problem is that it's left to the individual, right? If I'm a carpenter and I'm never going to use a plane sander because there's other tools that are available. If I don't know how to use a plane sander, then I can't really call myself a carpenter. You know what? I'm not really. I'm basically telling people that it's just a job for me.
Well, and that's the difference: is it a job, is it a tool versus a passion?
But frankly, I think the real problem when we're talking about law enforcement, and I've never been in law enforcement, but it's far for me to judge. But I do see it as a problem. Too many people in law enforcement cannot shoot or fight their way out of a wet paper bag.
Yes. Yeah.
And the only reason that that's a problem, it has nothing to do with fucking machismo or my dick is longer than yours or thicker or whatever. It has to do with.
Don't say that. My wife's watching.
Oh, I'm sorry. Sean, not Shane.
Hey.
Okay. Thank you.
I mean, Kurt, not Sean. No, anyway, the reason that that's a problem is because in that line of work, it only has to come up once.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You only have to see the footage of it taking 3 police officers to get a kid on his skates on a outdoor rink in Calgary off of his feet to say, "You must." You know what I mean?
Guys, let's. We're putting Mikey in a very.
Oh no, it's okay because that's. Stuff like that is just as frustrating for everybody else, and
I can imagine.
Yeah, to some degree, I have to be careful about what I say because it is the line of work what I do. But I'm also allowed to disagree with what my organization is doing. I'm allowed to disagree with the way law enforcement is being used to facilitate policies that I don't necessarily agree with or I don't think are fair. So at the end of the day, these are all conversations that, to some degree, a lot of people in my line of work are thinking, and a lot of people in my line of work are dealing with. But now we have the double-edged sword of this is what I believe and this is what I support. But at the end of the day, when Jim Bob down the streets calls to complain about kids on I'll bring up the hockey thing because it was already there. It's like, okay, so you have people who are on the rink and they're doing their thing, and I personally don't really give a crap. The problem then comes in is I'm the police who's representing both sides. And unfortunately, this is what the law is. And even though I don't want to enforce, I have to, if I don't enforce this, then it gets taken advantage of. And people let's look at the malls. Everybody's supposed to do this stay-at-home order. Me and Shane are playing friggin' Call of Duty. And Boxing Day, they're keeping their 50% in the store, but the hallways are jam-packed full of people. And it's like, well, we need to address that. Well, it kind of...
meanwhile, City Calgary is sanding the ice rink.
Yeah.
Well, those are ponds, but
mess.
I digress. That's why organizations, back to the point of lack of training, in my opinion, organizations like Call Sign 66, we had Daniel Shaw on the show. A lot of their income comes from officers that want to go above and beyond the basic training that they get in their qualifications year to year, or let's say even a couple of years. And, so they spend money out of pocket to do that and do courses like that. And
there are guys out there doing that because we have, I know he's a retired cop. I'm not going to say he's old, but he's working with Black Box Customs. I'm trying to remember the name of his company. It's like ADG or I can't remember. And he's doing law enforcement only training seminars for multiple weekends. And he's sold out and booked up constantly. He cannot, because there are those people who are like, I want to do this. I know another cop that I work with, and he's teamed up with a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu squad, and he's got, because he's like, this is important stuff. It's the stuff that, like you said, it only has to happen once, but you better be prepared for that one time.
Well, and especially in a partner situation where you don't just have to rely on your skills, you have to rely on your partner's skills. And if those skills are lacking and you're in a life and death scenario, it's not just going to be you guys that get hurt, it's going to be other people as well. And it's tough.
It's not a law enforcement problem. It's a human nature problem.
That's exactly right.
Amplified when you're talking about law enforcement because of the nature of what law enforcement has to deal with every day.
Yeah, there's pluses and minuses to both sides of it. You're going to get the people that don't take the job serious, or you get people that they're in it to win it, and you don't get to guarantee who you get. Mm-hmm. And for the most part, everybody who does the job doesn't go out there looking to be like, how can I screw up somebody's day, or how can I hurt or kill somebody? That doesn't happen. I know that it can be perceived that way, but
some guys.
We're not talking about the RCMP here.
But
shots fired.
But it also comes down to your organization, what you're willing to stand up to, and who you're willing to be. And it's not an easy road, and I don't feel for a lot of the guys that I work with.
Well, you're getting pulled two different ways all the time.
There's no clear road right now.
Are you guys are all you guys familiar with Donut Operator on YouTube?
Vaguely. I think I've seen one or two, but I couldn't pick them out.
Former law enforcement in, I think, Texas, who runs a YouTube channel now that primarily breaks down law enforcement encounter videos and stuff like that. And I remember he specifically did a video one time talking about the cops that are out to get people, or all this sort of exactly what you're talking about right now. And he just relayed a story, like one time that he was accused of that when he pulled somebody over. And it was like that the call directly before what he was talking about, he had just attended a scene where a drug addict had got high and then stabbed their 2-year-old child to death without knowing that it was their 2-year-old child, because they were so high they didn't even realize what they were doing. And then right after that, he's this other stop. The guy gives him attitude, and he loses it. Right. And I think it's a human nature thing. Everybody has bad days, and police officers, I think, so often, you know this better than anybody here, Mike, that they see people at their worst like every day.
Well, and I'll speak a little bit about personal experience and stuff. I've been a cop for 16 years. I don't look it. I've got the baby face, and I'll take it.
You're friends with Shane?
Yeah, I'm friends with Shane. Yeah, exactly. But at the end of the day, like, you can look at statistics, and you can, people can tell you, like, most people only see one or two tragic incidences in their life, and cops deal with them every day. And I can tell you, like, it's not an easy thing, and it's not an easy thing to ask for help. I've been lucky enough to go, be around a lot of people, and to some degree just not care about the fact that it's like, you don't see the road you're going down until you're already on it. So I can sit here and tell you, like, I went through a phase in my career where they're like, Mike is really good at giving death notifications, so we'll just send Mike to all those things. So I'm now telling some lady that her husband's dead in some horrible way, and then I've got to go pick up this mom because her boyfriend killed their child, and do all this stuff. And it's funny because you give these scenarios, and people are like, oh, that doesn't really happen. Like, and it does. And after 16 years of doing that, I finally had to take a step back and go, I've never done anything wrong on my job. I've never gone overboard. I've never been in a position where someone could legitimately say, we get complaints all the time. I've never had an instance where someone could legitimately say, you did this just because you wanted to hurt me or this, that. But because of all the stuff going on in my life, both things I've seen at work, things going on personally, I'm like, I need to take a step back. I need to take some time for me. I need to go talk to Dr. Bonkers, make sure everything's good, because I don't want to be in a position where something does happen. I'm totally justified in everything I did, but now it's called into question. And so that self-help, self-care and all that stuff, shooting is part of that for me. So my wife's like, you need to take a day and go to the range, and people will be like, oh, that's barbaric. You're training yourself to deal with stress by shooting things. And I'm like, no, that's my piece. I go and sit on a quiet range. I sit in some field or whatever, or on the range, depending on where I go. And that's my quiet. That's my peace. That's my this, that. And I talk to my people who I need to talk to. There is unfortunately a stigma about that, because as soon as you do that, people are like, look at the crazy police officers. And I'm like, you know what? I would rather be talking to somebody than not talking to somebody and then have that thrown in my face. So part of it is the stigma that has to come, that the public have to know, and they will never know the things that they're shielded from. But unfortunately, that takes its toll. And like you said, you get the wrong call. I had a girl who had a TV fall on top of her. Little, young girl, killed her because it was not a flat screen TV. And I'm sitting there. I had to carry her out, deal with her family, all that stuff. And you go, okay, what next? How did you deal with that? I don't know. And now
you don't really brush that off.
You don't really, and even if you do it to get through the day. And then it's like, well, what about the next day? And stuff stacks and stuff stacks and stuff stacks. Well, now you've got a whole bunch of police officers, and they've been doing the job for 20 years. For me personally, I'm at a place where I'm like, I just want to move away from everywhere else and give me a place where I can shoot my backyard. To just be away from people, not because people are bad. There's a lot of great people out in this world. There's 95% of the population are amazing people. I don't deal with those people. I deal with the 5% who are on their worst day, or they're, unfortunately, we would consider them trash. But
or they're
I'm calling B.
Yeah. But at the end of the day, we've all got to try and do our jobs and be professional. I think the skating rink incident was on both sides. Like, what can I say? I wasn't there.
And you guys need, the defund the police with Nancy too has just been unreal. And then you guys need that funding for the support that you guys need. That
this is what I'll say to that, to the defund the police. It's funny because when you jump on a bandwagon, you don't realize what programs are already in place in Calgary. I was part of the school resource officer program for 5 years, working in high schools, and I can give you hundreds of examples of kids who, whether it be through me or other guys, who've been diverted or away from crappy, shitty lives, gang life, drug life, all that stuff. But you can't track those statistics. They're like, oh, we need to give these money to social workers. Well, we had a social worker who was stabbed here in Calgary. We also have things like the PAC team, who is like, we work with, it's a police officer and a social worker, and they deal with mentally unstable people or drug addicts. We have the child at risk response team, which is a police officer and a social worker, who they're already doing these things, but politically they don't let the world know about this. And say, we already have these teams, because it's not safe to just send a social worker in. So we have a police officer partnered with a social worker. And that's been happening for, oh my gosh, like
forever.
10 to 15 years, if not more, from before I got on. So the things that are there, it just adds animosity between police and civilian. And now you've got this never ending cycle. And it's like, well, who's going to be a jerk first? And it's like, well, that's not how the game should work.
And these defund goobers they also don't realize that social worker organizations, like for example, in Saskatoon, there's the Saskatoon Crisis Intervention Services. There are many cases where they will not attend it unless they can go with the police. Because it's simply not safe for them to attend. It doesn't matter whether you're a social worker or a police officer. It's a violent crisis. So,
Yeah.
defund the police, sure. Send the social workers, great. What are you going to do when the social workers won't attend because they're not trained to handle a violent crisis?
Well,
What I
and that
can't
already
get
happens.
past is how people think that, like, you're not going to see some nice people, you know?
No, not all the time. And I get to I better preface this. Nothing that I say personally necessarily represents my organization, because that's just not how it works. But on the personal level, no, we're not always dealing with those nice people. But I don't know how many times, like, yeah, you're going to hear about some bad circumstances. You're going to have, there's stuff in the news, there's incidents that have happened, there's shooting that have happened. But you also nobody hears about the hundreds, if not thousands, that didn't happen because when something big happens, everybody under the sun, now there's body cams everywhere, like all of CPS has body cams.
Yeah.
And so a lot of our complaints went down because the sheer fact of there's cameras out there, and it's like, you see the 30 seconds that they want you to see versus
Right.
the 5 minutes of what happened. But at the end of the day, I loved my body camera. Some people were a little leery at first because they're like, it's going to somehow be used against me. They're the best thing since sliced bread, because I never was questioned. It's like, okay, was I an asshole or was I not an asshole? Like, this is what it is. This is what the scenario is. But there are so many police officers out there that they get lumped in with one bad scenario, and the scenario might even not be taken in context, and you just don't see all the other ones where the skill and the communication level of the people who are doing this stuff is phenomenal. And I go to work and learn every day, because everybody's got their talents, everybody's got their good things, and people know, they're like, oh, if we go to a gun call, or if somebody finds a gun, they can ask Mike, because I like guns and I do this stuff, like, what does this do, what does this mean, and blah 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 blah. And
that's a pellet gun, guys.
Exactly. But
see the bright orange thing on the end of the barrel. Yeah,
but I learned a lot of my, like, I got on really young. I was 23 when I got on the job. My best communication skills were learned 10 years on the job when I went to the schools program, because I wasn't working with a bunch of cops. It was me, myself, in a high school in the Northeast, kind of harder edge of the city. And I was dealing with teachers and counselors and students and parents. And you don't just get to tell somebody to screw off, or you do your quick thing and you leave at the end of the day. These kids you're dealing with them on a regular basis. You're dealing with their families on a regular basis, and you're trying to, the last thing you want to do is charge them. That's the end of the line. So my communication skills went absolutely through the roof. And then I come back on the street and you get to apply that stuff, and you get partnered up with somebody different, or this, that. And you've got guys, it's funny because they say, oh, you should have a degree to get into policing. We've got guys who are pilots. We got guys who are, one of my old partners has a master's in child psychology, and he worked with the CART team at one time and stuff like that. So it's like, you just don't know, because they're taking the lowest common denominator of a scenario and they're throwing it out there. And we're all going to have scenarios. We're going to have this agency, the RCMP or Calgary, we're all going to have an instance where we're like, oh shit, I wish I could take that one back. But as a whole, 99.9% of the encounters that happen go off without a hitch. People get helped or they get directed, and you're like, this is what it is. So
wow, thanks for sharing, buddy.
Well, like I said, I figured if you're going to go down that road, like I said, I do have to be cautious, because it's an organization. But at the same time, this is kind of my philosophy that I've taken on with everything, whether it's been policing, politics, this, that. I don't have to agree with you to accept you. So if I'm going into a call and I'm dealing with this type of person or that type of person or that type of person, I don't have to agree with you to try and treat you like a damn human being. Yes, I have to be a cop. Don't put me in a position where I have to do my job. But if I do, this is what it's going to look like. And you just go from there. So, bringing it back to shooting is how and I know a number of other guys, that's what they do. And, sometimes you'll get them, sometimes you won't. So hopefully you get one of them when you're dealing with them.
Well, and just so you guys know, even sponsoring a cup, I can't get out of a goddamn speeding ticket.
No, I get a text message or a phone call. He's like, I'm getting pulled over for my tinted windows. I'm like, well, slow down.
Oh, tough titty, man. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. He tries.
All right.
I even got a photo radar ticket last time I was in Edmonton. So there you go.
Mikey, what are the specifications of the laser? Because this is like 9 over. It's bullshit.
Oh my gosh. Terrible
Poor
in Edmonton.
guy.
It's like 5 over. It's right. You get a photo radar.
Well, worst
Edmonton.
part was RCMP. I got pulled over on the phone with my RCMP. Doubled my ticket when I said CPS. That's bullshit.
There's a little,
That's fucking
there's a little
bullshit.
bit of
That's not
little
real.
bit of a rivalry.
Oh fuck.
Oh,
Thanks,
great conversation. Yeah, that was phenomenal.
Well, how about that like mini project that we're talking about?
Yes.
And
let's
then
talk
yeah,
about
we'll
the
get off here.
project.
We're at like an hour and a half.
Let's have it. Oh yeah.
So
Okay,
tell us
so-
about it.
So
Yeah.
I was on the internet one day and I saw these cool, like
While
whether
I
it
was
be
supposed to be
or
working.
No. You don't.
Surfing
mix
around.
that.
In between the porn,
It was a
Mikey
lunch
looking
break.
at guns.
So I came across this company called JTAC Industries, and I'm like, that is the coolest little micro mini chassis out there. And they specifically they started specifically using the Howa Mini action because it's about an inch shorter and narrower than a standard Remington footprint. And I showed Shane, and he's like, "Oh yeah, that's not bad, but let's look at all these other options and look at this cool thing." And I just kept shooting it down. and then all of a sudden he got bitten by the bug, and it just started taking off. And so I'll let him go from there.
So part of it is this OIC and the bullshit. So I can't totally criticize everybody for coming out with product specific lines that are they're getting around it.
And
But-
here we go.
But I now have an AR that sits in my safe, and I've got 8 or 10,000 rounds loaded that I can't shoot because I don't have another 223. So we started thinking, and he was really horned up about this little tiny chassis, and I'm like, it's fucking stupid. And then I started looking at some other options, and I couldn't really find anything else
And
unique
they
like
were
that
stupid.
on the market. That's right. So I did reach out, and basically what we're going to be offering here is I've got the first 5 ordered to do some demo builds and some promo and things like that. But Howa offers 2 bolt faces. Your standard 223 bolt face, and then like a 7.6239. Off of those 2 actions, we're going to be able to offer. So we're partnered with Oregon Mountain Rifles. I think everybody knows that for the most part. We're a Canadian dealer for OMR. Their barrel blanks are McGowan. So apparently that's a secret in the States. Sorry, Lee, I know you're not listening. But it's a good reputable brand, and they do fantastic pre-fits. So we wanted to try to keep this as economy as possible. And I know that's a stupid word to use with precision rifle, but we wanted to keep the price point as low as possible. We wanted to keep it very modular, and we wanted to build something light and compact. So obviously we've got a 26 or 26 and a half inch overall length rule. We have to adhere to. We got a really tiny chassis. So when speaking with Joel at JTAC, we can do a 16-inch barrel and meet 27 inches overall length. We can offer it in 223, 300 blackout, 6 millimeter arc, which just saying it gave me a boner. 6.5 Grendel and 7.62 by 39. And I can order pre-fits with a Remej, I guess it's a Howage, but a
Howage,
Savage style
maybe.
barrel nut.
Bolt nut.
So these are going to be
Barrel nuts,
modular. Mikey's first one is going to be a 223 with a switch barrel 300 blackout platform. I'm doing a 223, and I'm going to do a 6 arc for myself and just swap it in the chassis. We've got a couple more 300 blackouts and 6 arcs being done, and we're going to advertise those out. We're doing a pre-order. Anybody who wants to get in on it early, I don't know how long we're going to offer it. There you go. It's going to be $27.95. Regular retail, once we get these things in full production, is going to be $29.95. I think they got like 3 or 4 color options for the JTAC chassis. All barreled actions are going to be completely Cerakoted, and that is a 16-inch carbon fiber wrapped threaded muzzle with blended in protector barrel going on these things. So it's not your MRK Bison or whatever those things are called. It's not truly a competitor to that, because it's a good mini action, runs off of Howa's magazines, 10 round capacities, and this thing is going to be 27 inches and about 5 pounds.
for those of you listening in the podcast land, I have a picture of the chassis up, and it's got a CCS style collapsible buttstock with an AR pattern grip, and it is sexy as hell.
And it's that stock, that collapsible chassis will do, I think, 11.75, 12.25, and 13.75 length of pull. So 3 different settings. So, you know, you could even take your kids out. You got a youth rifle on it. It's got an adjustable cheek riser for when you throw a little optic on there. The plan is to put like a little 1 to 8, 1 to 10 power scope on there. Just a little truck gun.
7 Twist, 223 Ackley.
Oh, Jesus Christ. But you know what? My Gowan does have that reamer, so that's not a problem. But really, one of the things that we sort of talked about is what was the purpose of it? I mean, there's cool factor. Don't get me wrong. Put in a backpack, cool. But in our market right now, I have traditionally traveled with a non-restricted of some kind under the back of my truck with some spare ammunition.
Yeah. Fully
legal, meet all compliance. Yep. Well, right now, things are getting gray. I carry a Kel-Tec around in my truck. But being a bullpup, like Mike said, not every cop knows the law. I got to prove it. You get charged, you deal with it. These little things are going to be packable, small. They can fit in your backpack, take it with your horse. You can hunt with a 6mm if you want to. But just as a shit hits a fan, go for patchworking gun, whatever, I can throw something in the backseat of my truck and a mag in the glove box and be in full legal compliance.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I like that.
And they're nice and they're light.
What are you going to retail those for, Shane?
So the pre-order, like I said, I've got the first 5 chassis and barrels and stuff ordered. I'm placing a pre-order, so I want to gauge interest. Anybody who gets in on the pre-order before we get these packaged out is going to be $27.95. And then regular retail is going to be $29.95. That includes Cerakote, the threaded muzzle, a couple of choices in the action. And then obviously if you want custom Cerakote or things like that, we can offer that. But we're trying to keep this as a single configuration. 223 is going to be 7 twist. 6 arc is 7 twist. 6.5 Grendel is going to be a 7 twist. 300 blackout. I believe they confirmed a 5 twist for us.
Yeah, I pushed hard for the 1 and 5 twist. So 1 and 7 used to be kind of the golden standard, but if you follow like QLLC that have the Honey Badger and their little bolt action guns, which is, you know, also which would be, I think, almost a direct competitor, except they build from the ground up. They got really quality stuff. They've just gone everything to 1 and 5 twist because some of the solids you can get, or some of the, you know, I could shoot a 230 A-tip out of this thing. We don't get the benefits of suppressors up here, which I think is goofy. But even to shoot a 230 grain at 12, 13, 1400 feet per second, you're just like, ugh.
Nice.
So that's what we want to aim for. Like, there's not going to be a lot of options. Don't bug me about barrel lengths. They're all going to be 16 inches for legal compliance. But it's going to have Savage style barrel nut. So you order a Savage wrench of whoever, everybody carries them except for me. And you can go and break your barrel off. And like I say, up that 223 bolt face, I'm investigating right now the 645 between neck depth 6 mil. There may be an option there as well for that, so that a guy can play 223, 645, and 300 blackout on one action, and then on the end of the action can play 6 arc, 6.5 Grendel, and 7.239. I mean, let's be honest, who doesn't like buying cheap surplus ammo and plinking the shit out of it? But you need some precision. That 6 arc is not far off of the B arc. Even in a short barrel, guys are looking at 25 to 2600 on 108s.
Really?
Yeah. We've been doing the calculations and the math, and
nice.
Yeah, on a 24-inch test barrel, their ammunition gets 27 and change. So that's 16 is going to be short, but it's an efficient little case. And being Canadian, one of the things we always consider is supply chain. Can we get dies? Can we get brass? Can we get the appropriate components? Like, are there going to be any hang-ups? Because while I love supporting our customers, I do have a full-time job beyond this. And this constant calls up, where's my 25 cals? Well, I don't make them, guys. I'll bring in as many as I can, but I don't make them. Well, I can't find any brass for the 300 PRC. Well, thank America. I mean, it's completely sold out. I can't help you with that, right? Exactly. There are certain things that are a challenge right now. But we wanted to ensure we weren't putting guys into like really proprietary, fancy skook and boutique shit that they're like, well,
Skook 'em.
I can't go buy guys. Hey,
Yeah.
Go to
BC pipeliner, buddy.
there you go. Okay,
Hey,
boys.
I got one more thing here.
Okay.
Sorry that I should bring up. Curtis Boys, have you been promoting Sections 8 and 9 Firearms Act, prohibited license applications, Section 74 challenges, 12.6, 12.7 ATTs? Do you guys know anything about this? I started down that road and I don't know, I got distracted by a butterfly or some damn
I
thing.
know a little bit about the Section 74 challenges. That has to do with the revocation letters that were sent out by the
right.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm not too sure what he means with the Section 8 and 9 prohibited license applications or 12.6.7 ATTs.
Mm-hmm. We're gonna
he
have to
lost
look
me
that
at that
up, boys.
We're
What's
not
that?
Lost you at what?
He lost me at the decimal. I'll be honest.
Yeah.
I probably directed at Mike because there's way too much legal shit in there that I don't give a flying fuck about.
Wow.
Well,
You know
as
what?
far as the Section 74 challenges go, apparently it was ruled that what the RCMP intended with their letters were supposed to be revocation letters, and so they are classed as revocation letters, even though they didn't do it properly. And so you can file your Section 74 challenge to the revocation letters. And what I know about that is that some people are like, fuck you, this is my rights, and I'm going to file my Section 74 challenge. Other people are saying, file your Section 74 challenges, but do it in a way that can actually be useful to you. Wait until the court cases are heard. And once the court cases have been heard, assuming that they turn out in a way that your Section 74 challenge could actually mean something, then file your challenge so that it'll be heard with that precedent in law. And there's seems to be some disagreement. Some people are saying, well, no, it's my right. I'm going to do it now. I have to exercise my right. I have to exercise my right. Yeah. And other people, specifically Michael Loberg, general counsel for the CCFR, who's a lawyer. I mean, you can only assume that he knows what he's doing. He's done pretty good for the CCFR so far, is saying, do it when it could actually mean something. So I'm assuming maybe that's what Curtis is talking about.
So you guys know that my partner, Steve, is the president of Canadian Historical Arms. He's also on the board of the Rocky Mountain Range, Crow's Nest Pass. He's been facing CFO a long time on some range challenge and things like that. So we've got a reasonable relationship with a fella named Ian Rundle. He is a firearms specific lawyer based out of Edmonton here.
YouTube personality now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I believe Ian said basically the same thing: is drag it out until the final day, file your injunction, drag it out even longer, and see what happens. But yeah, I was pretty disappointed when I received my paperwork. And my concern, and we chatted with Runkle a little bit on it, was that the way they issued it wasn't actually in compliance with our at all, so it can't be counted as a revocation because they didn't actually notify you of it. And legally, under Section 74, they have to provide the documents for the appeal within the revocation. So they didn't actually revoke anything. The document says your license is no longer valid, which is a big difference. So he said there was some legal challenges to be had there, and just to hold tight until the legal challenges.
But I believe that occurred, wasn't it? I believe that, because I remember Ian Runkle saying that originally in one of his early YouTube channels, but I think that since then it was heard, and the judge, at least in one of the provinces, I don't know which one, I think that the judge decided that they didn't do it right, but that it was intended as a revocation letter and to treat it as such.
Yeah, I hate to say it, but if I drive in my car and I intend not to speed, but I speed, the law is black and white, and it's not about intent. So,
you've got a point.
You know what? Runkle would probably be, well, I don't want to say interesting because he's a lawyer, but he's a good guy. He's engaged in the firearms community. He's a little left-winging, so maybe pound him a bit on that. But you know what? Have him on the show. He's a good guy. He's engaged in it. He's been chasing the proceedings and kind of updating all over Twitter. So it's such a convoluted mess. It's very hard for us as regular folks to understand how bad we're being bent over. I don't think we have any question that we're being bent over. I think it's just to what degree. Like, am I at a 45 or am I at full back arch? Like, I want to know. But I think having Runkle on the show would be maybe have some like fireworks in the other box or something to excite people. But I think it's a topic a lot of people are interested in right now.
We can make Ian exciting. Can't we, guys?
Whoa, Jesus Christ.
I say
That's
that I'm
what they
looking
said.
for backup for Sean and Kurt, and they're sitting there like picking their asses or something. I
Making
don't know.
notes here. Making
He's
notes.
making notes.
Your uncle
That's
of the
what they said when they
Bailey.
put a guy on the moon. we can totally put a guy on the moon. Let's fake it for 40 years.
All right.
Oh, shit. Good show, boys.
Yeah, that's right. Do you guys have any shout outs this week, Shane?
You know what I do? It's a lot of thank yous. You know what? I was really surprised. My 40th birthday rolled around. My wife really went out of her way. Being not able to go out and see your circle and the people you normally engage with, it's been hard. I think for everybody, I don't think I'm unique in that situation. I like to tell everyone I'm antisocial, but my people are my people, and it's good to engage. So my wife actually got a little video messages sent to me for my birthday. Thank you to all my friends and family who did that. Kurt and Sean, you guys were in that. Chase, Mike, Mike and Steph actually helped her. They got in on the cheater bag for me. Honestly, it's just thank you for the people that are around me and support me and love me. That's important right now, and I really appreciate it all.
Oh,
Even you,
Tear
Sean.
up a little bit.
Well, and he was fucking funny. So Carrie asked for a video out of him, and he texted me today. And he says, I didn't give you a video because our relationship goes too deep for anything I could say on a video. And I was like, oh my God. He says, happy birthday and I love you. He says, I'll tell you to your face. I said, I love you, buddy.
Then there's no evidence of the tears.
That's right.
That's right. You know what? I'm not too big a man to say I did cry. I have all those messages. Maybe not yours, Mike, because you fucking showed me a nipple, but that's disgusting.
It was a nip slip.
You know what?
Come on.
If you think Mike is white on camera, you should see fucking neck down. It is like
yeah.
Glow in the dark, buddy. Glow in the dark.
100-watt LED bright. But I had a couple people send me some messages that really hit home, and I cried like a little baby, and my little man was like, "Oh, why are you crying, Dad? You never cry." We all cry, and it's okay, and it's healthy.
How big of you to admit that in front of our millions of listeners?
Millions. What are they, like 8, 7 minus my wife?
Yeah.
millions. Yeah. Mikey, who do you got for shout outs this week?
Well, I'll start with Shane and Steve because they picked me up and helped me out with the PRS thing and everything that they do there. Chase
You're not
Curtis,
gonna start crying now too, are you?
no, I won't cry.
Oh, okay, good.
No,
Carry
Chase
on.
Curtis, who jumped in on that bandwagon and threw actions at me. MDT threw some stuff at me and supported me. Kyle Van Rutenberg and my boys at Black Box, who just painted up my gun for me. I don't know. And then, my wife, who lets me shoot. I was told I was allowed one expensive hobby, and this kind of won out.
Well done.
Because let's be honest, we all know that that's how it works. They tell, we say okay, or we find a new house.
Or you just get them shooting with you.
You just give it over.
That's true. Yeah. So
Build
yeah,
her rifle and we'll get her shooting.
Exactly. So yeah. And then I want to say probably a special thanks to like the guys at Saparil, Sean and Chad, and Josh Botha, and who was the guy whose ranch we stayed at? Tyler.
Oh, Tyler. Yeah.
They
Beckley.
we had some shooting challenges this year. We were supposed to do 9 shoots. We were supposed to be in the States, and these guys at least were able to throw something together within restrictions and make something happen. Josh and Tyler threw it together in a month on a beautiful ranch. So check it out next year. It was in Cranbrook. So to the guys,
and for 2021, they are the first sanctioned NRL match in Canada.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah. So
his
for
second match NRL.
Yeah.
Wow.
So for all the guys, just industry putting the matches together, that's what allows us to actually do what we get to do, and shoot, and it goes down the line and promotes business because then guys build guns. So you know what? Those guys are important. So that's who I'm going to shout out to.
Well done.
No, and you know what? Mike's right. The community, the organization, it's been an exciting ride, and the people we have in our community are absolutely fucking fantastic. We don't have a huge supply chain, but the people we deal with, there's a reason we deal with all of them. Patrice, Kadex, I am still better looking than you, but thanks for all the support, man. We do love you.
And more modest, I'm sure.
Like MDT, like Jesus Christ. I got a happy birthday from Kyle today. You know what? Those guys are absolutely fantastic to deal with. They're very open. They're building the sport. They're creating something exciting. And the people, Ryan Holmquist, you see him at the matches sometimes, Josh Botha, like they got a whole team of guys. There's going to be a new addition there announced in a couple of weeks, and you guys will be excited. Maybe I'll tell you offline. And he's going to be one of our new sponsored shooters as well. The community is just so good. There's so many people out there that have been really supportive of EM's growth. And without our suppliers and those relationships that we have, it would be very difficult.
Nice.
Yep.
Chris, who do you got?
No shout outs for you, Sean.
I know, right?
Say me, it's my turn now. Anyway, you mentioned him earlier in the show. My shout out goes to Daniel Shaw. This final, is it going to focus? Oh, it is too. It finally came in the frickin' mail. This is
Excellent.
one of my Tango Yankee chips. If I
Nice.
can hold it steady enough that it actually stays focused. So carrying two of these motherfuckers in my pocket now. And, if I come across one of you goobers that's doing something good, I might just, you never know. I just might walk up and give you one of them.
Nice.
So I'll tell you what, though, I ordered this the day that we had Daniel on, which was like, a month and a half ago now?
About that.
And it arrived this week.
Yeah.
So apparently I received things from China and Pakistan in shorter time than I received these from Texas. But I think that has to do a lot more with USPS and how crappily they're handing things off to Canada Post than it does to Daniel. So I think Daniel did a great job. It was shipped the next day. I'll say that.
Excellent.
It just took that long for it to get here. So that's my shout out. Daniel Shaw, Tango Yankee. It's Tango Yankee. What is the website again? TangoYankeeChip.com. There you go.
Kurt, what do you got?
Well, first of all, Shane and Mikey, thanks for coming on. It's been a great pleasure. My only other shout out, I guess, is our buddy John for supplying my habits. That man has more stock than some gun shops I know. I've been. Sorry.
Go ahead. Well, I was going to say,
just-
John's got a sexy new 6GT for you to hand load.
Yes, he does. Yes, it's shipping right here.
Couple of weeks, but we'll be sending something down.
Is it that
supposed-
short?
Are we supposed to engrave a penis on it, Sean?
I think so.
in the invisible ink for the blacklight, right?
At
I need
least
you to
hairy
send me the
balls.
vector file of your cock.
It'll be a small file.
Please, God, tell me that doesn't exist.
It's textable.
There you go. Well,
Kilobytes, not megabytes.
Kilobytes, yeah. PNG. Anyway, I got Shane and Mikey. Thanks for coming on. Happy freaking birthday, dude. Shane, you're phenomenal. You sponsor the show. You guys are the OG sponsors. Thank you for continuing that. That's awesome. I also want to give a big shout out to Kyle Van Rudenberg. Yeah. Kyle Van Rudenberg. That guy, he is long overdue to come on the show. We're trying to work out the details right now with MDT, Modular Driven Technologies, and we've been texting back and forth. And
nice.
Yeah, so big shout out to him, and that's about it for me. So,
well, when are you guys going to go on his podcast?
That's right. Well, we're working on that.
Get it sorted out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, we'll talk off air about that. Anyway.
Yeah.
Cool, guys. Well, apologies to Wes Stevens. We ran out of time for you again this week. Even though we ran long, we still ran out of time for you. Sorry, buddy.
Yes.
That's right. Big shout out to John Johnston and his band, the Dirt Road Scholars, for the kick-ass music, which you are about to hear right about now. See you next week.